Please stand clear of the doors. Por favor, manténganse alejado de las puertas. Please stand clear of the doors. Por favor, manténganse alejados.
Because this here's the wildest ride in the wilderness.
Hello, everyone. I'm Alicia.
And I'm Nathan.
And welcome to episode 67 of Adventures and Mousecapades.
Today, we're going to discuss how quickly we can put a podcast together at the last minute when you realize your wife and daughter are going away tomorrow and Saturday, and Sunday is Easter and your daughter's 18th birthday, and then Sunday night we're supposed to get a podcast out the door. So welcome to our late night on Thursday, and we're going to talk about the Disney Wish.
And specifically, we're going to talk about the spaces on the ship, as well as some activities that we saw going on while we were on the ship.
Yeah, we're just going to run down top to bottom. We're going to group by type of space, and we're going to talk about theaters and shopping and pools and lounges and all sorts of other stuff, and follow along. We'll kind of give our thoughts and what we saw, and we'll just make this happen. Alicia,
Yes.
let's talk about theaters. What's the big theater?
The big theater is the Walt Disney Theater, and the main entrance for that is on deck 3. There's also the balcony entrance on deck 4, and the accessible entrance is on deck 2. And the prelude is on either side on deck 3. That's where you get like popcorn and candies and stuff like that.
The Walt Disney Theater is the name of the theater on all 5 plus Disney ships. I'm sure it will be the name of the theater on every single ship that Disney Cruise Line ever puts out. And that is where your Broadway shows occur. That is where other lectures or other big events, sometimes they do Disney movie premieres at sea, premiere with EAR. And yeah, you get it. And it's a nice theater. It's a beautiful space.
Yes, it
I will
is.
say on the Wish, the seats are a lot smaller than any of the other boats, which was a little uncomfortable for us.
Yep.
And not our favorite.
Yeah, and we did not go to any of the shows because of that.
Yeah. Our muster station was actually in the balcony. And on the first day, and we said to ourselves, let's not sit here again because this ain't cool. So that was kind of a bummer.
Hoping it will be easier for us next time.
Yes. I'm actually hoping that Disney will wake up and realize that the American cruising public is getting larger and stop making their seats smaller.
Yeah.
But, cruise ships and airlines.
These are definitely smaller than the seats on the Dream, Fantasy, Wonder, and Magic.
I want to say the Wonder and the Magic are the biggest.
Yeah, it's possible. Well, let's move on to the other theaters that are on the Wish.
Indeed.
There's also the Wonderland Cinema and the Neverland Cinema. Both of these are on deck 4, and each one has a specific theme. The Wonderland Cinema is themed to Alice in Wonderland, and the Neverland Cinema is themed to Peter Pan. These are nice little spaces where they'll just show movies throughout the cruise.
Yeah. Moving a bit further aft on the ship, we have a larger 2-story theater that has a big digital screen, but this is where they do bigger events and bingos and other kind of game shows and trivias and things like that, called Luna. This is on the main floor is on deck 4. It has a wraparound balcony up on deck 5 as well. And it's actually a very comfortable space, and we enjoyed Luna a couple times. And then also up on deck 5 is Triton Lounge. And if you're used to some of the other ships, Triton is sometimes the name of a very fancy restaurant. And in this case on the Wish, it is kind of a smaller events theater that is has a small stage and a bunch of very comfortable seats.
On to shopping. Any Disney ship you go on is going to have shopping available. There's some luxury shopping brands available. There's some just your main Disney stuff. And then there's a couple of little specialty shops as well.
And I would say on the Disney Wish, they went hardcore overboard on the fancy, high-end, super luxurious shopping, much more than I've seen on any of the other ships.
Yes.
And frankly, to the detriment of some of the regular, for us normal people, kind of shopping spaces were much more limited, it seemed like, at least to me. So starting up at the top, we have a Disney standard. There's always Dory's Forget-Me-Nots or something themed to that nature up on the pool deck, and you can get swimwear and sunscreen and other various sundries that you may need out in the sun.
You have the main shop called Mickey's Main Sale on deck 5. That's where all your Wish branded, Disney branded stuff is going to be. Clothing, plushies, tchotchkes, lots of stuff in there.
Yep, all the Disney. It is the merch shop.
Yes.
For sure. Down on deck 3, then, you have a whole bunch of different, very high-end shopping spaces. There's Three Wishes, Once Upon a Time, Royal Regalia, Enchanted Castle Jewels, Treasures Untold. If it has a very expensive and shiny bling on it, these are all of the spaces where you will find those things to buy.
Yeah.
As we kind of talked about in our first impressions, I don't think the space was well used either, because some of these shops just have huge wide open spaces where there's just nothing going on. Whereas you have things like the Hyperspace Lounge that are getting squeezed and probably could be bigger, but don't have that space because we've taken it up for, $6,000 watches. Like I don't get it. I don't get it.
There's also a couple of other, they're kind of shopping experiences, but they're kind of not. We have the Shutters Portrait Studio and just Shutters itself on deck 5. And then there's also the Art on Demand on deck 5. Nathan and I have a beef about this.
Yeah, it's way too small. It's about 10 feet of wall space, and that's it. This is where we would typically shop and pick up a nice print, a nice canvas, and that did not happen on this ship because they really didn't have anything out. Shutters is the same place that you see on all the other ships. This is where you can pick up your cruise photos, and they have a whole bunch of kiosks, and you can see what the photographers have taken and order your mugs or whatever, your prints if you need those. Order a digital download package, all the rest of that stuff. All of that is at Shutters.
Yeah. I think we can move on to pools now.
Indeed.
And I was very impressed with the variety and locations of pools that the Wish has. There are a lot of pools. It's not just like one big main one. It was very nice, I thought.
Absolutely. It was great to have those crowds really dispersed. I think there was a lot more pool space for kid soup to happen and have all those bodies more spread out. And I think it probably gave a lot more people a lot more opportunities to get wet and get in a pool.
Yep.
So we have the Chip and Dale's pool, which is kind of, I think it was more forward from everything else. And it was kind of a nice, quieter area pool. It wasn't where the funnel vision was and things like that. So that might be more your speed. That's up on deck 14. The opposite end of the spectrum would be the Quiet Cove pool and whirlpools for the adults. That's on 13 aft. That's 18 plus.
And on deck 12, you have Donald's pool and Goofy's pool. And on deck 11, you have Mickey's pool, Minnie's pool, Daisy's pool, and Pluto's pool. And they're kind of tiered down. It's
right.
Nice.
There's not a ton of distinction between deck 11 and 12.
Yeah.
They all just kind of tier up, not tier as in TEAR. Well, I guess some kids are probably crying, but these are tiers as
Maybe
in
some
like
adults too.
Yeah, probably. Probably. And then to wrap out the pool entertainment, you have the Aqua Mouse, which is Disney classifies it as the first ever attraction at sea, which is a big water slide and it has a couple screens inside. So I guess it qualifies as an attraction. And there is also the Slidosaurus Rex, which is a smaller kitty-sized water slide. And of course, there's also the Toy Story Splash Zone, which I thought was stupid cute. It was really neat.
Very cute.
And that's on 12, and that's right outside where the our concierge section was.
Yeah. There's also right along the side of the Toy Story Splash Zone something called Trixie's Falls, which is, it's kind of like a little waterfall, but it's right along the tile on the wall. I'm not sure how to put that. But it's just a nice little area where littles can go and play.
Yeah. So once you're done with the pool and you need to, get a drink or get a coffee, let's talk about where you may be able to do that. There's all sorts of lounges and cafes across the ship. Mm-hmm. That's one thing about the Wish. There is a proliferation of small little joints where you can go get a drink, where you can go get a quick little snack or a libation. And that was kind of nice to see. Like, it seemed like you'd walk through a section of the ship and there's there's a little bar there. That's kind of cool and very unexpected. And
yeah,
it was nice.
There's a lot of little bars and cafes.
I think they've done a good job with that because I think it takes the mass of people that you have on board and it gives them more spaces to spread out.
Yeah.
We had a very full ship. Like the ship was at capacity. And it really didn't feel overly busy at all, other than really when we were in the muster drill. Mm-hmm. Other than that, it felt like everything was fairly well spread out and it wasn't oppressively busy anywhere. Yeah. So it was really nice.
We start off on deck 14 at the Currents Bar.
Yeah, and that is kind of overlooking some of the pools over by the front funnel there. It's kind of a very nice area, kind of up high, get a good view of everything.
Yes.
You have the Cove Cafe and the Cove Bar on deck 13 aft. Again, that's part of the adults area, adults only 18 plus area.
Yes. And we went in these just to kind of see what they look like. And the cafe was a lot smaller than I was expecting it to be.
The Cove Cafe, yeah.
Yes. And the bar itself is a separate entity on the outside.
Yeah, it's very different from the other ships. Mm-hmm. But then again, I think they can get away with that because they have 4 or 5 at least other coffee bars spread around the ship, including in Marceline Market, which is the equivalent of cabanas on the other ships. It's kind of your food court, your buffet kind of eatery. That's on 11. I don't want to skip, though. On 12, as we're working down the ship, is the Rose, which was a very, very nice champagne bar. This is outside the, I guess it's not just champagne, but it's a very elevated bar. This is on your way to go to Enchanté and Palo Steakhouse. It's a very, very nice bar. I'd say it's the Cadillac Lounge of, from the Wonder. It's the Meridian Bar on the Fantasy. It's that very nice, fancy. This is where you want to go have a drink at night before your meal or after your meal for a nightcap.
And it's a gorgeous space. Just the detailing on there is really nice. The ceiling looks like a rose. It is along a bay of windows, and there's chairs just facing out towards the windows. And it's floor-to-ceiling windows. It's very, very gorgeous.
If we were on a longer cruise, I could totally have seen myself going up there, having a drink in the afternoon on a sea day, and just reading and watching the waves roll by and enjoying a nice cocktail. That would have been lovely.
Yeah. And we did go there for an evening or two and enjoyed some delicious cocktails.
Absolutely.
Right on deck 11 in the middle of the Marceline Market is the Marceline Market Cafe. Nice little pass-through area right there.
Yeah. Out on the pool deck area, there's the Lookout Bar, also on 11.
And now we move all the way down to deck 5, and we have Enchanted Sword Cafe.
Where was that?
That was like right smack in the middle before Luna.
Got it. So I know there's a Luna Cafe or Luna Libations down on 4. So the Enchanted Sword Cafe is kind of that same spot, but up on 5-ish.
Yeah.
We also have the Keg and Compass up on 5, which is kind of the pub, if you will, that's on the ship. It's a lot smaller than the pubs that are on some of the other ships, especially the Wonder and the Magic. The pubs there are fantastically large,
Yep.
and smaller on the Fantasy and the Dream, and kind of relatively puny here on the Wish.
Yeah.
This is definitely one of those spaces that could have used a little bit more footprint, I believe.
I did love the theming in Keg and Compass, though. It was gorgeous. There's a lot of warm wood tones and wood carvings.
It's
and
more of
just-
a Nordic theming from
Yeah.
than like an Irish theming from a pub and nautical perspective. Yeah, it's really, really well done.
Yeah, and there's like a map on the ceiling. It's very nice.
Yep. The Luna Lounge has kind of a bar inside it. They're on the main floor on 4 called Luna Libations. And there's also Wishing Star Cafe on deck 4 as well, which is another one of those bars and cafes that you're walking through the ship and you go, oh, there's a cafe here. I guess I could get something if I was so moved.
And down to deck 3, we have a trio of lounges. I think we enjoyed all of these.
Absolutely.
The first one is Star Wars, the Hyperspace Lounge. This was a really nice space. I liked this a lot.
Could have been better. Could have
Yes.
been a little bit more themed. Could have been bigger. We'll cover this more in detail when we kind of go over our foods
Yeah.
episode, which should be in another week or 2. So stay tuned. Make sure you're subscribed. But yeah, Hyperspace Lounge, I know some people have knocked it, and I can get why, but I enjoyed it. It was good.
Yeah.
It was good. Also there on deck 3 is the Bayou. This was a beautiful space, very well themed of kind of New Orleans and Princess and the Frog and things like that. They have beignets there. We did not get beignets.
No.
We're idiots.
No, it was not long enough of a cruise.
No.
There's too much to do.
Yep. Too big of a ship and too short of a cruise.
Yes. This space kind of reminded me of the Promenade Lounge on the Wonder, I think it is. And I don't know if the Fantasy has it or not, because it is totally open. There is a little stage there, but it's an open area. People will walk on either side of it down the corridors. But it is gorgeous. The ceiling of the bayou is just covered in these white flowers. I don't know what they're called. I don't know if they're dogwoods or magnolias or what, but it's just beautiful.
Also on 3 is Nightingales. This is the champagne bar. I misspoke earlier. This is the champagne bar there in Nightingales. This is lovely. It was very small. We had a tasting in there. It could have been much, much bigger, but it was a very nice, it was well-decorated venue.
And this was the piano bar, basically, too. They had a piano in there, and it was very small. Not a lot of people could enjoy tinkling of the ivories there.
No, I want to say there was probably 20 seats in there tops, probably a little less than that.
Yeah.
It wasn't big. It wasn't big at all.
Well, those are the spaces, the lounges. They're really nice. It's a good area to hang out pretty much anywhere.
Everything's really well themed, and they've just done such a fantastic job. With the room that they had to use, they decorated it really well. I think they could have made some better decisions on how big some of these spaces were, but they've, the folks who had to go decorate what was originally laid out did a good job. Did a very good job.
We're going to move on to food now, and we're going to start with the rotational dining. There are 3 rotational dining restaurants, and they're on decks 3, 4, and 5.
Yep. These are your main restaurants that if you've cruised on other cruise lines, this is your main dining restaurants where you, by default, this is kind of where you're going for dinner each night.
Starting on deck 5, we have Arendelle, a frozen dining adventure. This was an amazing space.
Yeah.
The theming of it was very nice. Walking up to the restaurant, There's a corridor you go down, and it's just decorated like you're at Arendelle.
You're in the castle. You're going by all the portraits on the wall. It was really cool.
It was very nice.
The next deck down is on deck 4. We have Worlds of Marvel.
Yeah.
This was a restaurant.
The theming wasn't that bad.
It wasn't that bad. It wasn't that amazing, but
yeah.
I mean, it was a restaurant with big, huge screens on the walls.
Yes, screens everywhere.
It was really tight. I thought Arendelle was also really tight.
Yeah.
Yeah, they've really squeezed people into these main dining restaurants.
This is true. The last rotational dining area is 1923, and there are 2 sections to this. There's a Walt Disney section and there's a Roy Disney section, and both of these are on deck 3, and you can get to them through the Grand Hall area.
Yeah, these I didn't feel like were quite as tight as the other 2. Definitely packed in, but it was a lot quieter than we've seen with those kind of main, fancier restaurants on some of the other ships that are bigger spaces. I actually think taking your dining rotation room and cutting it in half actually helped quiet things down, especially on a ship that was 50% kids out of 4,000 or so folks on board. In terms of guests, it was a 50-50 cruise, and it was nice to have a little bit quieter dinner experience there in 1923.
Yeah. And this is a space that I really wish I had been able to look around at a bit more. In each dining area, it's actually partitioned within the restaurant itself on each side, the Walt Disney and Roy Disney. There's multiple, I guess, neighborhoods or rooms, or I don't know what you'd call them. And they're partitioned by a big shadow box.
Kind of display cases.
Yeah.
And there's all sorts of memorabilia and replicas and things like that all throughout these rooms. I'm with you, Alicia. We could have gone in there after, before a meal or during some other downtime and just gone through and looked at all the stuff. That would have been really, really neat.
Yeah.
And would have been a good use of time.
Yeah, and each display case had a specific theme to it. Like, I think behind us, it was all Peter Pan. On another one, I could see it was Alice in Wonderland, Cinderella further down. And they included sketches, some figures, and just a whole bunch of stuff that is reminiscent of the movies, and just drawing them and getting them all set together.
In the beginning of the early years of the Disney studios. Yeah, it was really neat. For adult dining, I think we've mentioned it a little earlier. There's Enchanté and the Palo Steakhouse. And these are just fantastically themed spaces as well. Absolutely gorgeous. So you walk in, you go through the rows, and there's a table outside that has the rose from Beauty and the Beast. Then the Palo Steakhouse is themed around Cogsworth. And so there's gears and all sorts of architectural elements and art that are evocative of Cogsworth and clocks and things like that.
And on the other side, you have Enchanté, and that is geared after Lumiere.
Yes.
We didn't go too much into that space, not in the evening anyway. We got to walk through it during the day, and it was open and airy. There's a really nice chandelier or art piece hanging down from the ceiling. I don't know what that was supposed to be.
It's Lumiere.
Themed
I mean,
after.
it's light. It's
light.
It's that kind of theme, right? Yeah. The we'll cover food in another episode. The Enchanté or Enchantant menu just doesn't really speak to us.
Yeah.
It's very French. It's very bougie. And it just wasn't tipping our interest in our palates this time around. What was tipping our palates this time around was Mickey and Friends Festival of Foods. This is the conglomeration of small quick service restaurants and food stands that are up on the pool deck on 11. And the highlight here for the fleet is there's 2 things. There's Mickey's Smokehouse Barbecue. They have all sorts of really cool stuff there that is new to the fleet in terms of foods and barbecues and briskets and all sorts of stuff. And Donald's Cantina, which is actually a Mexican quick service. You can get tacos and all sorts of other stuff there. So that was fantastic. We have Sweet Minis ice cream, Daisy's pizza pies. Those pizzas were good. And Goofy's Grill, all there on the Festival of Foods on 11.
I really liked the theming for this too. I thought it was really cute how it was laid out, just the cartoony look of it all. Mm-hmm. And they were separated nicely. It's the pool deck. It's crazy busy. And there were lines at pretty much all of these, but just how it looked was very nice.
And the lines were moving pretty good, and it felt like there was a lot more space up there than on some of the other ships for seating. So it was quite comfortable. And I will note that this is kind of the covered area for the pool decks out on the sides. And if folks have been on a Disney cruise, they have those windows that kind of curve over you that turn from a wall to the ceiling. And a really nice thing that they've done on the Wish is every 2 or 3 panels in that curved kind of greenhouse roof, if you will, actually opened up and it let airflow happen. Yep. And it dramatically cut down on how stuffy it felt in there. Yeah. It dramatically assisted with the noise. It let some of that out. That was a really nice addition for the Disney Wish, and I hope they do that on the other ships and hopefully maybe even retrofit in a dry dock for some of the other ships. I think that could be a really great idea.
Also on 11 is the Inside Out Joyful Sweets area. This was really cute. It's themed to Inside Out, and it has all the characters in there. It's got disgust, it's got anger, fear, joy, and sadness. And the wall of memory balls, orbs, is there too. It's really neat.
Core memories.
Yes, core memories. That's what it is.
It was really well done. That was a fun job. We didn't go back and actually get any food there.
No.
But we did on our first day after we did embarkation. We toured through, and I enjoyed the space. We just, again, I'm looking forward to being on hopefully the Treasure or the TBD ship that's coming next in 2025, and having a lot more time to spend in these spaces and this design of the ship, because even being on a 4-night on the Wish, there's just so much going on. Yep.
Yeah. And Joyful Sweets has gelato, I think it's gelato, not ice cream, and other treats that you can purchase like macaroons, cookies, cupcakes, sweet stuff. Yeah. And on deck 12, there's also something called Wheezy's Freezies. I'm fairly certain that these are like slushy type drinks that you can get there.
And then also on deck 11 is the modern version of Cabanas, or Cabanas, as Alicia hates me calling it. This is Marceline Market. This is a upscaled themed buffet, and you have lots of different stations. I thought the space was beautifully decorated. The food looked really good. I never was there for a meal though. We just kind of walked through to see it on embarkation day. I know Alicia went, and it's just as insane during breakfast as Cabanas ever was, or still is, as on the other ships. There's just a ton of people moving through there. But there is a coffee bar inside of Marceline Market now, so that's really nice. And it's a beautiful spot. I think Cabanas feels a lot more like a cafeteria than Marceline Market does.
Yeah, it's a bougie Cabanas.
Yeah, exactly. In a good way.
Same food. It just looks different and nicer.
Yep. And everything is set up to have crew service. There's not going to be an opportunity where you're serving yourself there in Marceline Market. And that is so that folks aren't sharing, those tongs and spatulas and utensils and things like that, and passing germs back and forth through the service of the food. So just be prepared for that. And that will be a permanent change, I think, moving forward that we will see on all of the Disney ships and probably elsewhere in the cruise industry as well.
That's it for the foods.
Indeed. But speaking of bougie spaces, let's talk about the concierge. We talked about this last week in our initial impressions of the Wish episode. The concierge lounge on the Wish is absolutely beautiful.
It is.
Tons of seating, very comfortable, spacious. It's got its own galley. It's just, it's fantastic. It's there on 12 forward. There is a deck outside of 12, just above the bridge. There is a whole sun deck with 2 different whirlpools and things like that up on 13, and a shaded lounge structure. There's a bar up there. Mm-hmm. The concierge spaces are fantastic on the Wish. Top of the fleet, for sure.
There are a lot more concierge staterooms, though.
There are. You've gone from one of 30 to one of 70.
Yeah.
But it didn't feel cramped.
There were a couple of times where it was pretty full. We did not spend a huge amount of time there, so.
No, but I know the last time we were in concierge on the Fantasy last August, it felt full at times there too. Yeah. So at least when it was full here, you still had more room, you had bigger seating, you had bigger tables. Like, seats were being consumed or used, but everything was much more spread out. So it was very comfortable. I enjoyed the concierge. If anybody wants to sponsor us, we will sail in concierge all the time. That's probably not going to happen, though.
No.
Well, at least the not sailing in concierge. If you want to sponsor us, podcast at ourmousecapades.com. Let's talk.
On to the entertainment and kids stuff.
Yeah.
On decks 12 and 13 is the Hero Zone. This is kind of a multi-purpose gym area. There's foosball tables, there's ping pong tables, there's air hockey, and then the main part of it on deck 12 is the basketball court.
This all used to be outside on all the other ships. I think it's great having all of these things inside. You don't have ping pong balls getting affected by 30 mile an hour winds, and you get a nice full basketball court. It is a really great space and really neat to be able to go to that upper deck area on 13 inside the Hero Zone, and you could have a bird's eye view of a basketball game or other activities that were going on.
One of the things that I really liked about this space is on deck 12, all the way around the outside of the basketball area, like on the walls, is seating. It's just bench seating all the way around, which is, I thought that was a really nice change from some of the other ones.
And it's nice and padded and things like that. It's not like you're gonna, if you're playing basketball and you hit the bench, you're not gonna break something. It's all nice and plush. But yeah, that was a very nice touch as well. Yeah.
Also on deck 12 is the teen area, Vibe and the Hideaway. This looked gorgeous.
Yes. I could hang out there.
Yeah. I was like, I'll hang out here. It's really pretty. And we'll put some pictures up of some of these areas too, so you can see them.
Down on 5 is Edge, which is the tween zone. And we didn't get a chance to view the Edge. This is, again, one of those things that we just never got around to hitting an open house. And they wouldn't believe that 45-year-old me was a tween anymore, so they wouldn't let me in. So Alicia tried to get into the Oceaneers Club, and that didn't work either.
Yeah, that's true.
The Oceaneers Club is down on 3.
Nope, the check-in is on 3.
Oh,
One of the really cool things about this ship that Sterling is really excited to try is you check in on deck 3, and then you take a slide down to the kids area on 2.
Yes. Very cool. And also on 2 is the It's a Small World nursery, which is a pay for play, if you will, for babies and things like that.
Yeah.
Things like that.
Things like that.
For babies. And other youngins who aren't potty trained yet, who need
Yes.
a more individualized and personalized level of care, that is a per hour paid for thing. Whereas the Oceaneers Club and Edge and Hideaway and Vibe, those are all included in your stateroom cost.
Yep. And the kids area on deck 2 is partitioned into 7 separate themes. And we did not get to look at any of them. No. But I'll list what they're called. You can kind of figure out what they are from that. We have Mickey and Minnie Captain's Deck, Fairy Tale Hall, Walt Disney Imagineering Lab, Disney's Oceaneer Club, The Hub, Star Wars Cargo Bay, and Marvel Superhero Academy.
Based on what they did for the Vibe and the Hideaway for teens, I have to imagine that these kids club areas are just insane. Mm-hmm. And they do have open houses. We just had other things going on and didn't make it down to them. They also had an open photo character meet and greet in the Star Wars Cargo Bay, I think on day 2 or something like that, where you could go meet Rey and Chewie.
Yep.
Again, we had other things going on, but just because you're not a kid doesn't mean that you won't be able to see these spaces. So
Exactly. And then we have the other category.
the potpourri.
Yes.
We'll start off with the very fancy laundry on 8, which is kind of nice. It's right next to the 8 forward set of elevators. And that's right. There's only one laundry on the Disney Wish, but it
it's
is
huge. My jaw like dropped to the floor. I'm like, holy cow, this place is huge.
Yeah.
I don't even know. I can't even guesstimate how many machines there are in there.
There's probably a few dozen washing machines.
I'm thinking maybe more than that.
Maybe, yeah.
There was multiple areas. I'd say maybe 4 separate areas where you could iron your clothing. And I think each area had 2 or 3 ironing boards to them.
Yeah. There was a lot of room. There were a lot of machines down there.
Yep.
And it was $3 per spin, per machine. And we found you could take 2 washing machine loads and put them into one dryer.
Yep.
The washing machines are puny. And the dryers are probably going to take 2 turns to dry your stuff because it's a 20-minute max. And then you choose your temperature. So just plan for that. It'll be basically if you're going to put 2 loads of what we'd put probably in our laundry machine here at home, it would be $9 to actually no, it'd be $12. You have to use 2 turns on 2 of the different washing machines and then 2 spins on the dryer. So 3 times 4 is 12, I think.
Yeah.
I don't know.
One of the other areas that we did not get to look at was Senses Spa and Fitness areas. Again, just not enough time.
No.
From what we've seen, though, it is a very nice area. There's a whole outside area in Senses Spa, kind of like a sun deck that has some really nice lounge chairs and circles.
This is all part of the revamped rainforest room.
Yeah, that's
that
true.
has all sorts of stuff. You can find all sorts of videos on YouTube if you want to have somebody walk you through the rainforest room.
Yep.
I will say it was a little awkward for the outside spaces of the rainforest room. As cool as it may seem to go do that, you have an open walking deck for anybody that's right above that space.
Yeah. just
So it's
peer
not
in.
super private. And if you're up in the concierge lounge on one of those 2 decks, you're looking right down into that space as well. And I think there's some concierge rooms that also look straightforward down into that space, right?
Oh, yeah, the Little Mermaid concierge rooms. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's not private is what our point is here.
Yeah.
And that just seems weird. If I wanted to go have a relaxing spa-like experience, I wouldn't want to feel like I'm in a fishbowl where everybody is looking at me.
Also on deck 5 is Pluto's Corner, and this is an area for service dogs to do their business. And it has a little fire hydrant there and
Yes.
fake grass. It's really cute.
tacking on with the spa theme, we have the Untangled Salon and Hook's Barbery. Hook's Barbery is really fantastic. It is a barbershop, but it is also a world-class old-fashioned bar.
Yes.
That was very cool.
We didn't include that in the lounges because it's actually not advertised as that. It's kind of a, you walk by and you see Hook's Barbery and there's some bottles in there, but yeah, you can get old fashions there.
And we had an old-fashioned tasting there, and it was
We did.
amazing.
We will talk about that later.
Yes.
Also on for is the Bippity Boppity Boutique, where kiddos can get gussied up in princess or pirate or captain gear, whatever their preference is.
Yep. Down on 3, you have the Grand Hall, which is where you enter onto the ship. There's a little stage there, and this is, again, where you can get to 1923, the restaurant, both sides of that restaurant. It's just kind of the hub of the ship. There's always something going on there. It seems like character meet and greets or photography sessions in the evenings and all sorts of stuff.
Musicians, on
Yep.
the stage there.
Yep.
This place is gorgeous.
Yeah.
It's the atrium area, the lobby area of the ship. There is one staircase that goes from 3 all the way up to 5. And you have the chandelier in the middle. That is just, it's beautiful.
Yeah.
And all the, what was that, fiber optics in the ceiling too, and along the walls. It is a very bright area as well. It's the paint is white, so it really stands out.
And then kind of rounding off everything, let's see, the guest services desk and the DVC and all the rest of those kind of things are up on 4. And you have the tender lobby where you're going to your ports of call, as well as the health center are down on deck 1.
Yeah.
So that's kind of a quick overview of all the spaces on the ship.
Quick overview.
Quick overview. Let's do a quick overview of what all the activities are. Again, we're not going to dive into all of these, but we'll just kind of run down all of the different stuff that you could do on board.
There is tons of entertainment and activities that you can do on the Wish. Disney is great because they have Broadway class shows, and the Wish is no exception. First night is Disney Seas the Adventure, and it's SEAS, that kind of seas. There's also a reimagining of The Little Mermaid that they do on another night, and they have the Aladdin show that is also on the Fantasy as well. And Nathan and I will steer clear of that one in the future because all of the genie masks scare us.
Yes, that's nightmare fuel for us.
Yes.
Your mileage may vary.
Indeed.
We've seen it. We're done.
Yep.
There are, of course, one of the highlights of any Disney cruise is all of the character interactions. They'll have specific times where they'll have meet and greets in the lobby or out on deck. But quite frankly, you're going to find them walking through the halls here and there and just have a random interaction with Daisy as you step out of the elevator from your room. And it's just a ton of fun. They have all the different characters in different outfits and things like that as you progress through your cruise. There's folks from Pirate Night, Captain Hook and Smee. There's Star Wars characters around. There's Marvel characters around. There's always something going on character related. That's one of the big highlights, I think, for us of being on a Disney cruise is having those character interactions.
And the Wish is a little different because usually on the other ships, you do not see Star Wars characters. You do not see Marvel characters unless you're doing a Marvel Day at Sea or a Star Wars Day at Sea type thing. So this was neat to have those. And I just ran into Captain Hook one day. I was walking around. I think it must have been Pirate Night. I was walking around and he was right there. So I got some pictures with him.
Other activities you could take part of, there's deck parties going on. There's the sail away party on embarkation. On pirate night, there's a whole dance party, and then there's another different show, and there's fireworks going on. That's right, Disney Cruise Line has fireworks at sea. You will see other cruise ships in the area kind of sneaking over towards the Disney ship because they want to see the fireworks too.
Yeah. There's something called funnel vision, which is one of the funnels
Yeah, the forward
on the
funnel.
upper decks. Yeah, on the upper decks has a huge screen, and they will play movies on that throughout the day. That's always fun to do. I sat down and watched Coco for a little while one afternoon.
Yeah, and depending on time of year and what's going on, occasionally they'll put live sports up there too. I know we saw Sunday Night Football up there one time on one of our cruises. So
Yeah.
if there's a big event, it will probably be on Funnel Vision.
Yes.
There's exercise stuff all over the ship. We don't partake in that when we're on a cruise. We're relaxing. So
There's stretching classes. There's other things you can do for a nominal fee. Like I think they have spinning or something like that.
there's a Castaway K5K. If you really want to go and run in the Caribbean in the hot sun, again, not for us. We've done that, but not again. We're done.
We've done it multiple times. We're done.
Yes, we're done. We're totally done.
There are all sorts of crafts that you can do too. There's something called cruise passports. I don't know what that is. You can draw characters. You have an artist there teaching you how to draw different characters. And some of these are 18 plus.
Ooh la la.
Kind of nice. Not like that. Oh my gosh.
Oh, okay.
Just no kids in that drawing class.
Oh. So it's not like draw me like one of your French girls. It's different.
Wow. No.
But I've got this huge,
Yeah. And
diamond.
I've also seen towel animal and napkin folding classes available too. I'm sorry, were you saying something?
No, I'm good.
Okay.
Photos are another popular thing on the cruise ships. The photographers are always out every night. Sometimes they're in the restaurants. You can get your picture taken with various different backdrops. There's magic shots. This is a first on the Wish. They actually had a couple magic shots that we were able to take advantage of. One was up on deck, and it was this beautiful kind of like low angle shot with a wide lens, and you get the whole funnel with the logo and everything. It's quite a stunning shot, and there's a mini, I forget what they call it, a mini circle, mini world or something like that.
Tiny world.
Tiny world, exactly. It's one of those 360 cameras, and we took one of those too. That's really cool, and that's the first time they've done that here on the Wish. And then, of course, all those character meet and greets, you can get pictures with the characters as well.
In the Hero Zone, the Wish has something called the Incredibles Incredicourse Inflatable Obstacle Course. Wow, that's a tongue twister there. They basically have an inflatable obstacle course that you can go through. It's really fun to watch. It may be fun to go through as well. I wasn't going to try that.
No.
But it's fun to watch people. And they also have Jack Jack's Diaper Dash in there, which is just a hoot. If you ever
That's
get a
cute.
chance to go see that, go see it.
Basically, it's baby and toddler crawling races.
Yep.
Good times. Good times.
There's also something called Disney Uncharted Adventure.
Allegedly.
which-
Allegedly. We never got it to work.
which is an interactive game that you can use on the Disney Navigator app. Yeah, we never got it to work, unfortunately. I know Disney's still fine-tuning it. They need to continue with the fine-tuning. They're not quite there yet. Maybe next year it'll be up. We'll see.
Yeah. Alicia at least got it to load on her device, but it never actually worked. And it never actually loaded on my phone,
No.
despite my best efforts. So,
Yeah.
all throughout the cruise, there's going to be cruise standard stuff. There's bingo. There's all sorts of different trivias. There's game shows. Some of those are 18 plus, like Match Your Mate. There's just a ton of events going on. The one thing that Disney Cruise Line does not have, and this, of course, extends to the Wish, is there's no casino on board,
Yeah.
which for us, I think is really nice.
You get the gambling with bingo.
That's right. That's right. You get your gambling itch scratched with bingo.
There are various beverage tastings available, and we'll talk about a couple of those in a later episode.
We'll talk about that next week. There's always musicians at various venues. It's really great to have live music going on. As musicians, Alicia and I, we really appreciate when there's live music going on and it's not just a DJ. And there was a lot of very talented musicians on the Disney Wish. It's great to see that.
Disney also has karaoke time. Some of them are actually family karaoke, and some of them are adults-only karaoke. And they have silent DJ parties, which I think we did for the first time on our last cruise. And it's fun and it is silly.
Yes. You basically get a headset and there's 3 different music channels that are spinning tunes. And everybody's dancing and all the rest of that stuff and occasionally singing along to songs. But if you walk by or take your headset off, it's just these people dancing in silence. It's really hilarious. And then lastly, we actually got to see one of the very first instances of a brand new event that's on the Disney Wish. And this is Oogie Boogie's Villainous Nightmare Bash.
This was kind of cool. It started out with a story in another room, and we, basically summoned Oogie Boogie.
Yeah.
And then we're taken to another room. The Hero Zone is just kind of made up with some decorations for
black lights.
Yeah, and black lights. And then it was dancing. It turned into a nightclub.
Yeah. It was fun. The Oogie Boogie was there, and there's kind of a story going around and things like that. It's just good fun.
Yeah.
That is our not so quick review of some of the activities and spaces on the beautiful Disney Wish. It was a great trip. It was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed our time on the Wish. It was not enough time for this larger ship and how they have all these different venues. I love that they have broken up where those 4,000 people are at any one time, and so it doesn't feel overwhelming at any point. But holy cow, because everything is smaller and there's more of them, there's no way you're going to be able to do everything in one cruise if you are a completionist and you need to hit all those venues.
Either have to do a back-to-back on the Wish or wait until one of the other larger ships comes out and has a longer itinerary.
Yep. So if you need to plan a back-to-back or a trip on the Treasure or the TBD, then we suggest you work with a travel agent to plan that perfect vacation.
Just a reminder that we are not affiliated with Disney. And if you have any questions or suggestions or would like to be interviewed on our show to share your Disney experience, please do send an email to us at podcast@ourmousecapades.com.
Give us a follow on socials. We're at Our Mousecapades. And give us a rating and review in your podcast app. That really helps people find us.
Thanks for listening. We'll be in your ears next week.
Thank you for flying Star Tours. Bye-bye.